So today some big news has dropped as a massive game goes up for pre-order on the Stadia store, and it's from EA. So we have a lot to talk about, not only on the game, but what's going on with EA and Stadia getting bigger games in the future. We also have some new game sales we'll take a look at and some random news. But either way, guys, enjoy a message from today's sponsor. With that, before we get started, today's video is sponsored by Opera GX, and you guys know how important it is as cloud gamers to have the most optimum quality and control we can have. GX Control gives us that with the power of using a CPU limiter or even a RAM limiter, especially for those who are cloud gaming on older devices. There's also a network limiter, which can greatly help you limit the amount of data you use when gaming on Stadia or even GeForce Now, especially if you have pesky data caps like I do. But what is really neat is the fact that you can even run Discord, Twitch, or even things like Twitter within this browser, really limiting the amount of pesky apps and pages you need to keep open on your PC. And finally, let's talk the newest feature like Opera GX now available via mobile, a great way to continue the awesome perks that you get, even GX Corner, all with the touch of your phone. Join me by downloading Opera GX and using it as your main cloud gaming browser by clicking that link in the description or in the comments. Doing so also supports the channel and it's completely free to use. You guys have nothing to lose. Give it a shot. Special thanks to Opera GX for being today's sponsor. So the big news today is that FIFA 23 is now available for pre-order on the Stadia store. There's two versions. There's the standard that's coming in at $69.99. I imagine it's about the same price in the EU. And then the Ultimate Edition comes in at $89.99. Now, before I go further and talk about the details of these editions, I want to point out right away that this game is set to have crossplay. That does extend to the FUT crossplay for those who enjoy that mode. Then FIFA 22 this past year itself had crossplay for online seasons and online friendlies, so I'm assuming the same thing's going to be happening for 23. This year's iteration also brings in the Women's FIFA World Cup and Hyper Motion 2 technology, which is just a more fancy word for more added animations than last year, which again, last year's motion technology is a next-gen feature. So I want to reiterate this yet again, Stadia is getting the next-gen version of FIFA 23. But some more notes for you guys here is if you pre-order the standard edition before September 30th, you get an untradeable FUT Team of the Week 1 player. There's also a few more little things, but the Ultimate Edition has quite a bit here. FIFA World Cup Hero player, FIFA points, and then quite a few things, but 3 days early access is the huge one here. So instead of the game dropping September 30th, if you pre-order, you will be getting it on the 27th instead and having access of FIFA 23 on Stadia 3 days early. So for me, that's a pretty big pre-order bonus, and of course I'm going to be pre-ordering myself and playing it and trying it out, and of course making a video on that for you guys so we see how it runs and looks. But EA for me has really done a good job with all their ports on over to Stadia. That includes Madden, FIFA, and it's been awesome, so we'll definitely have coverage. All right guys, with the details of the game out of the way, let's talk about pretty much the elephant in the room slightly. That is that EA bringing FIFA 23 to Stadia, which I have to say is awesome. It makes a lot of sense. I think FIFA has really sold well on Stadia. The amount of people who have told me that they play Stadia just based on FIFA from comments and other sources is honestly a lot, and this is just my general pulse of the community. And this is one of those franchises that somewhat does move the needle for the platform, so it's a little bittersweet on my end because I know this is going to make a lot of you guys happy, including myself, but I personally would have loved Madden, and I know a lot of other Americans would have as well, but I don't think Madden performed anywhere near as good as FIFA has on Stadia. So again, overall, I'm not really shocked, but it also leaves the question, why are we only getting this one EA game out of so many others? And will EA continue to support Stadia going forward? The truth is, guys, is that I think this will largely depend on Google and Stadia, but what people might not understand about this news is that Stadia officially only made an initial deal with EA for 5 games. This is now going to be the 6th game from EA, so what does that tell you? Well, it tells me that Google made some form of an agreement with EA for this game. potentially ponied up some money to keep the franchise going or something. And I think that's significant because it does tell you Google is still investing in some way, shape, or form in getting games onto the platform, a big AAA game like this. And that's honestly something that you don't want to ignore, regardless if you're a FIFA fan or not. One of the questions we've all been having is Google trying to actively get more bigger games onto the platform? And now we have one example here. We also do have Saints Row, but we don't know the details of what Google has going on with Deep Silver and if that was something that was made a while ago as in terms of a deal. But we did know what was going on behind closed doors with EA because Google themselves told us that there was a deal for only 5 games. So all of this for you guys is just food for thought and something we're going to have to continue to monitor because lots of people have stopped using Stadia thinking they're no longer trying to get big games. And as we can see, that's not entirely true, but it still might not be good enough for a lot of people, and I totally get that. I truly do hope that these somewhat mixed messages from Google start to become more clearer in the future because yeah, we get no Madden, but we do get FIFA, so I guess potentially there's a limit to Google's investment. But again, make no mistake, this is an investment for Stadia, not immersive stream for games, a narrative people like to run away with. Not only that, FIFA 23 is huge because expansion into more EU markets and more Latin America markets are going to eat up FIFA 23 and the FIFA franchise, especially since this is the next gen version. This is also right on the heels as Mexico is about to see a Stadia launch, and you guys better believe FIFA 23 will make its mark over there. So very much this is almost looking very strategic on Google's end and how they're using their resources. But man, this is something that is really a lot to digest, and I'll go ahead and talk a lot more about this in a future podcast, upcoming podcast, so stay tuned for that. All right, with that guys, we do have some game sales that I want to go ahead and cover. Darksiders Genesis, really the only Diablo-like title on Stadia. Please Google, for the love of Jeebus, can I get one Diablo-like title, as it's literally my favorite genre. But Genesis comes in at a cool $13.99 price. I've beaten the game, I like it, I definitely recommend it. Dead by Daylight's a full multiplayer online game with crossplay on Stadia. It's coming in at $9.99. Dead by Daylight still has pretty much my most logged in hours on Stadia as a whole than any other game, so if that's not an endorsement, I'm not sure what else will be. Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, Temple of Osiris, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, all 3 of these games are less than $3, so pretty much just a cup of coffee. These are fun games. They also have great local co-op. Life is Strange True Colors is a great story-based title. It may get cheaper on Black Friday, but at best it's only going to get about $5 cheaper, so I don't think you can go wrong buying this one. Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebrations at $5.99. I think this is a great price. And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes in at $13.19, so not too bad overall. Keep in mind the Tomb Raider games are action adventure titles with heavy puzzle aspects, so if that's your jam, check them out. And keep in mind guys, these sales are going to last until early August. Finally, I wanted to bring up some quick news here. The Chromecast with Google TV is going to be available in India. It's also going to be available in 8 other countries, including even South Korea, Taiwan, and then New Zealand. Of course, if Stadia comes into the India market, that would be insane. And then having Google TV fully working down there is a good positive sign in the future if Stadia does launch down there. So I just wanted to kind of randomly bring this up. With that, if you guys want to know the upcoming games for the rest of 2022 and 2023 for Stadia, click the video on the screen.